opportunity to celebrate the bravery and sacrifice of all U.S. veterans. Many Americans confuse this holiday with Memorial Day, which specifically honors service members who died in service to their country or as a result of injuries incurred during battle. There is also another military holiday called Armed Forces Day, which honors those currently serving in the military. Veterans Day is set aside to thank and honor all veterans who served honorably in the military, in wartime or peacetime, currently or in the past, both alive and deceased. We want to show our appreciation for the sacrifices they have made, for the time spent away from their family and friends, and for the many life moments that they missed at home while serving our country.
It is important that all Americans know the history of Veterans Day so that we can honor our service members properly. The observance of National Veterans Day dates back to 1921, where an unknown American soldier was buried on a Virginia hillside overlooking the Potomac River in the city of Washington. This burial site of this unknown soldier from World War I in Arlington Cemetery represents the dignity and respect for America's veterans. This site, the tomb of the unknown soldier, has become a people's memorial that inspires reflection of service, valor, sacrifice, and mourning. Similar ceremonies have occurred earlier in England and France. All of these memorial observances took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I hostilities at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day on the 11th month. That day became known as Armistice Day and was officially recognized in America in 1926. 12 years later, in 1938, it became a national holiday. It is still recognized as such in nations across the world.
If World War I had indeed been the war to end all wars, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. In 1954, after World War II had required the greatest mobilization of soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen in the nation's history, and after American forces had fought aggression in Korea, Congress amended the Act of 1938 by striking out the word armistice and inserting in its place the word veterans. With the approval of this legislation in 1954, November 11th became a day to honor veterans of all wars.
On September 20th, 1975, President Gerald R. Ford signed a law which secured the annual observance of Veterans Day on its original date of November 11th. Since then, the Veterans Day holiday has already been observed on November 11th, regardless of what day of the week it falls. This preserves the historical significance of the date and helps focus attention on the important purpose of Veterans Day.
That purpose is to provide a celebration to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. We are honored to hold our program on the actual date of November 11th for 2025. The concert band will now perform Friends of Freedom as we celebrate our veterans, their sacrifices, and their dedication to our country.
service members in the honor today come from all walks of life and even different countries of origin, but they share several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity, all the qualities needed to serve a cause larger than oneself. Many of them didn't ask to leave their homes or fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given us so much.
While many of the veterans in our family tree served in the United States, there are some who served for other countries, including Jordan, Norway, Britain, and the Philippines. Some served during World War, while others didn't see combat. Regardless, they each put their own lives on hold to serve their country, and all have that in common.
The theme for Veterans Day 2025 is service to our nation. This reflects a tribute to all veterans, regardless of when or where they served. It emphasizes that service to the nation is not confined to one uniform, one battlefield, or one generation. The intent is to portray unity, honor, and continued commitment to freedom. Service is an opportunity to defend freedom and uphold values.
This famous quote from John F. Kennedy fits perfectly with the 2025 theme of service. It reads, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Our veterans stepped up to serve, and for that we owe them our gratitude and respect.
I would also like to share a quote that I feel is as important today as it was many years ago. These are the words of Franklin D. Roosevelt. We are a nation of many nationalities, many races, many religions, bound together by a single unity, the unity of freedom and equality.
The next piece the band will play is a beautiful piece that represents two traits veterans display: courage and valor. Courage is the mental and moral strength to face fear, while valor is a more specific type of courageous action, often involving bravery in battle or facing great physical danger.
Valor is often seen as courage with a layer of nobility or honor, especially in a military context. Think of courage as the inner quality of persistence despite fear, and valor as courage put into action with heroic, often self-sacrificing bravery.
Here's the band playing of Courage and Valor, a tribute to our veterans who are willing to take on challenges and vast changes to their own personal life for the good of their country.
awarded medals to many soldiers, added their names to monuments, and named buildings for them to honor them for their bravery. But nothing can ever replace the hole left behind by a fallen service member, and no number of medals and ribbons can comfort those who have lost a loved one. From the soldiers who shivered and starved at the winters at Valley Forge, to those crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the platoons who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, to the young man or woman patrolling the mountains of Afghanistan, we remember and honor them all.
Including Mrs. Conklin, Mr. Reed, and Mr. Fitzgerald, we have 61 performers tonight, and 47 of them have veterans and their family trees, totaling 163 men and women that we want to honor and show our appreciation to. 87 served in the Army, 28 served in the Navy, 13 served in the Air Force, 25 served in the Marines, 1 served in the Coast Guard, 1 served in the National Guard. We also have 1 who served with Philippine Army, 2 with the Jordan Army, 1 with the Norwegian Merchant Navy, and 1 with the Polish British Army. 2 were paratroopers, 1 was a fifer, and 4 were medics or nurses.
Some of our family veterans served during peacetime and others served during periods of war. 1 served in the Revolutionary War, 3 in the Civil War, 3 during World War I, 48 during World War II, 17 during the Korean War, 28 during the Vietnam War, 11 during the Gulf Wars, Cuba, and Afghanistan.
In our classes at school, we have learned about the great battles of various wars, and some of our family veterans were actually there, such as at Okinawa in World War II. We have family veterans who were held prisoner in POW camps during World War II. Mr. Ream's great-grandfather, Clifford Buckendall, who was serving in the U.S. Army, was one of those who actually liberated the prison camps at Buchenwald.
Nolan Muller's great-grandfather, Bienvenido Loyosa, was a member of the Philippine Army during World War II. He was captured at the Battle of Bataan, participated in the Death March, and died as a prisoner of war.
My great-grandfather, Frank Majeski, served in the Polish and British military during World War II. He was captured by the Nazis and liberated by the British Army, which is where he finished his service until he was shot in the back. He spent the next 7 years in the British hospital recovering from his wounds.
Many of our family veterans received medals and badges for their service. Over 55 medals of honor were awarded to our family veterans, including 10 Purple Heart medals. The Purple Heart is awarded to members of the armed forces who are wounded by an instrument of war in the hands of the enemy. This combat decoration is presented to the next of kind in the name of those who are killed in action or who die of wounds received in action.
Let us remember the service of all veterans, and let's hope that our nation will uphold its promise to fulfill its obligations to these men and women who have sacrificed so much so that we can live free.
Each branch of the service has their own theme song. As the band plays our marches of the armed forces medley, we ask our veterans to stand when their branch's theme song is played. We hope that those veterans with us will feel the admiration and appreciation from all of us as their song is played.
By looking up our own family veterans, we have tried to save some of the memories they have shared with us. In the years that we've been doing this veterans program, many students and their parents have begun to look into their past, talk to older family members, and uncover the heroes amongst their families. If this program can help spark an interest in even one student and make for one more veteran to be remembered and thanked, then this will have been a success. Here are some of our stories.
Lena Augustina Gutierrez's grandfather, Willard S. Gutierrez, was awarded the Bronze Star Medal with V, devised for heroism in ground combat in Vietnam. The citation from the Department of the Army says Gutierrez distinguished himself while serving as the medical aid. While near the village of Trong Nam, his battery came under heavy enemy mortar and ground attack. The citation states that Joliet native moved through a heavy barrage of mortar rounds from gunhit to gunhit, treating personnel who were severely wounded.
Although constantly exposed to incoming rounds and in great danger, he continued treating wounded personnel throughout the attack, in a number of cases undoubtedly saving the lives of more severely wounded by his prompt and courageous actions. As the enemy mounted a ground attack, additional personnel were wounded, and he again exposed himself to the heavy volume of enemy fire, moving around the perimeter to treat the wounded.
He worked tirelessly and with no thought to his own personal safety throughout the long night. Through his courage and devotion to duty, he contributed immeasurably to the success of the mission. Gutierrez has been in service for 2.5 years and has a 7-month-old son, Salvador, whom he has not yet seen.
Interestingly, a soldier who had been sent out on a medical chopper and who had been treated by Lena's grandfather reached out to Lena's father several years ago, hoping to speak to the man who helped him. He never knew his name, he only ever knew him as Doc. The power of social media worked to make it possible for him and the others that served to reconnect those that served in battle.
Captain Pasquale's grandfather, Stan Williams, was assigned to the U.S. Army Intelligence during the Vietnam era. He was Sergeant E5 attached to the USA Army Special Security Group, Special Security Battalion Number 1, Redstone Arsenal. He was selected to join the office of the Assistant Army Chief of Staff at the location for intelligence. One of the 900 officers united the whole USA Army to provide support at the location selected to be assigned to include the Pemberton, Washington, D.C., the White House, and Marshall Space Flight Center. He received several awards, including the President United Station, National Defense Service Medal, and Marksman Badge.
Juanalea Garcia's grandfather, Margarito Garcia, was from San Antonio, Texas. He was drafted along with his 2 brothers to serve in World War II. One brother went to the U.S. Navy as gunner's mate, and the other brother went into the Marines. They all made it back alive. Margarito served from 1943 to 1946 in the U.S. Army Air Corps, before of the official designation of the U.S. Air Force. He was a private first class, and his job was an aerial tail gunner. They believe he may have served overseas in the Pacific Theater.
Analea Garcia's grandfather, Michael Basin Garcia, was also from San Antonio, Texas. He served in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War from 1971 to 1974, and again from 1975 to 1978. He was drafted, but was already in basic training when he received his draft number. He volunteered to go to Vietnam. He was a tank mechanic / operator with the 1st Cavalry Division. He didn't end up going to Vietnam, fortunately. He was stationed in Frankfort, Germany, as well as Ft. Hood, Texas instead. He had told his family, "I returned home here in San Antonio, Texas from a Greyhound bus after my first enlistment in the Army, and even though I had never stepped foot in Vietnam, I was still called a baby killer and a spat on."
Analea Garcia's father, Matthew Garcia, shared these words with us. I volunteered and served in the U.S. Navy from 11 March 2011 to 18 March 2019. I was an aviation structural mechanic and worked on FA-18 fighter jets. My first duty station was in
Leavenworth, California with BFA 146 Blue Diamonds, where I deployed aboard the aircraft carrier USS Niptist in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in the Syrian Civil War crisis. My second duty station was in Fall, Nevada with the strike fighter, Wayne Pacific Detachment, Desert Outlaws, AK Top Gun.
Mr. Garcia continued with I Fixed the Top Gun Jets and was a quality assurance rep. I was there during the filming of Top Gun 2, Maverick, I saw the camera crews and Miles Teller in and around the aircraft. I raised my left hand again after the Navy and enlisted into the U.S. Air Force Reserves on 18 March 2019 to the current day. I am still in the aircraft mechanic and work on C-5 Galaxy in San Antonio, Texas with 433rd Alamo Aircraft Wing on JBSA Lackland Air Force Base in Texas.
Louis Jones' great-great-uncle Magnus Jobson Gordon served with the Norway Merchant Navy during World War II. He was aboard the ship Trafalgar when it was torpedoed by a U-boat in 1942. Here is the story.
Trafalgar was torpedoed on October 15, 1942, about 1,100 miles northeast of Guadalupe, when a voyage from Buenos Aires to the New York with 7,900 tons of general cargo. She had been sailing as per the American-British routing instructions, but earlier that day, they had received a wireless message from the Commander-in-Chief of the Atlantic Fleet ordering them to alter the course more westerly. According to a report presented by the subsequent inquiry, attack occurred at 1920, and the officers and lookouts on watch had sighted an object just before the first torpedo struck below the bridge, sideward side.
The captain ordered hard point wheel to the helmsman, Stephen Gooden, Louis' great-uncle, in order to put the gun in position. He was rushing to the sound of the alarm, but a second torpedo hit the engine room. Also, on the starboard side, setting two lifeboats on that side sky high, causing the electricity to go out. The derricks on the afterdeck were also blown up, some falling back on the deck. Both explosions were followed by a tremendous wave and spray covering the whole ship, and there was a bad smell from gas and gunpowder smoke.
The entire crew immediately ran to their respective duties. The gunners rushed to their guns, but nothing could be seen of the U-boat. There were no casualties, and they all remained on board, keeping a close lookout for the U-boat until the water started to wash over the decks, at which time they abandoned ship in the two poor lifeboats and the dinghy.
As Trafalgar sank, the U-boat came up to ask the usual questions of the people in the lifeboats, and was told that the captain had gone down with the ship. However, he hadn't, and here are his words about what happened. The ship was torn open from the middle of number 2, hatch to the engine room. The lifeboats on the starboard side were blown away. Some people even had their clothes ripped off their bodies. He claims that he himself was left with only his belt and shoes on. Even his socks had been ripped off down to his ankles. Trafalgar was sinking quickly, and after having checked the cabins, etc., to make sure that no one was behind, he joined the rest of his men on the lifeboats. The gunners stayed on their posts until everyone was safely off the ship, and then went into the dinghy.
They had started rowing when the U-boat came up to ask the usual questions about ship and cargo, etc. And when the first mate and the radio operator stated that the captain had been seen on the bridge at the ship went down, the U-boat started blinking with very strong red lights in different directions, and the Norwegians now realized that they were right in the middle of a whole group of U-boats en route from Europe to the West Indies. The U-boat finally disappeared and the seamen started rowing, then set sail the next morning. Course was set for the West Indies partly because of the current, partly because of the temperatures, as they didn't have much in the way of clothes.
On the 6th day, a ship was spotted, but their signals were not seen. Rationing had started from day 1. Additionally, those who had their shirts were told to dip them in the water and drape them around their chests. The body would soak up the moisture, leaving the salt behind in the shirt. Apparently, this helped combat the thirst quite a bit. Using the compass and an American pilot map for navigational aids, they headed southwest in hope of reaching the island Barbuda or Anjulia, where they heard the Americans had an airport.
Finally, on the 11th day, they saw land. Finding a place to land was a big problem due to the coral reefs. The third try was successful and they could stretch their legs out again. The island turned out to be under enemy control, and when they were told by the authorities to leave or be arrested, they had no choice but to get back in the boat. So with heavy hearts, a bucket of water, and some extra food, they took off yet again, watched by a large audience.
The next day, they had a far more welcoming reception when they reached Marigo, Dominica. A large number of people were already gathering as they maneuvered their way towards land, and the boys in the boat were so happy they jumped overboard and swam the rest of the way. It so happened that they were the first shipwreck crew to come, alive, to the island, and the news of their landing spread like wildfire. At the police station, drinks awaited, as well as clothes, and after an island feast worthy of heroes, they were taken by a car across the island and lodged at the best hotels Portsmouth could offer. From there, they were sent by boat to Rousseau on October 22nd, the island's capital, where they again were welcomed with a lot of festivities. The vice governor and his staff and the chief of police, all clad in magnificent uniforms, as well as interested onlookers, received them. The next day, they were placed on an American subchaser, and the following day they were landed at St. Lucia, where they were transferred to a Canadian steamer which took them to Trinidad.
Howard Gibson, my grandfather, served in the Army and in the Vietnam War. He was a bit of a character, so the only thing my mom really remembered was about his time in the Army is that he was stationed in Germany, near Nuremberg, and that the only phrase he remembered in German from serving was, "I'm too bitter. One beer, please."
My great-grandfather, William Bill Hicks, was in the Marines during World War II, where he was injured at Okinawa and received the Purple Heart. Here is how an article in the local paper read. Former athlete injured in battle, Mr. and Mrs. John Hicks recently received a telephone call from their son, Private First Class William F. Hicks, U.S. Marine Corps, on his arrival at the U.S. Naval Hospital at Oakland, California. After spending over 7 months overseas in the South Pacific Theater, Private First Class Hicks was wounded on Okinawa and was removed to a hospital on Southend. From there, he was taken to Hawaii, where he underwent an operation. From Hawaii, he was sent to the States. He has been awarded the Purple Heart. Private First Class Hicks was well known locally as an athlete at Jefferson High School. He has been in service since August 1944. Following 6 weeks in the hospital, Private Ritter rejoined his division, now dubbed Les Terribles by the French for its successful spearheading of the Soissons offensive. Just in time to see action at the beginning of the last great Allied offense of the war, the Meuse-Argonne Drive.
Alex Matthews' great-uncle Robert Amos Lane served in the Vietnam War. His name appears on the Vietnam War Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. Her great-grandfather, Jordan or Mr. McCarthy, was serving in the Army. He told his wife, who was expecting a baby, that she could name him anything but William or Ray. He returned home to find out she named him William Ray Matthews.
My grandfather, Roman Majeski, served in the Navy on the U.S. Kitty Hawk. He didn't serve during wartime, but was stationed in about 10 different locations around the world. Fun fact, I may have an aunt or uncle in the Philippines.
Emma Polito's father, Major Jesus Polito Villa, is currently serving in the Army. Her uncle, Lance Corporal Ricardo Polito, served in the Marines during the Gulf War, and her great-uncle, Alfredo Canesco, served in the Army. Emma's great-grandmother was so proud and had pictures all around her house. All 3 men are immigrants from Mexico who wanted to give back to their new home country.
My great-great-grandfather, Virgil C. Ritter, served in the Army during World War I, and he also enlisted for World War II. He received the Purple Heart, Silver Star, and 4-star Victory Medal. Here is a newsletter written about him. Veteran of 4 major battles of World War I and holder of the Silver Star Award. Private Virgil C. Ritter, 21st Technical School Squadron, is back in uniform at 43, anxious to meet in combat the enemy he helped conquer 24 years ago. Now an aircraft armor student, Private Ritter still treasures 4 awards for his service in the First World War.
In August 1918, during the bloody Battle of Chateau Thierry, Private Ritter carried out vital bit of liaison work under heavy enemy fire. Shrapnel tugged at his sleeves and cut through his hand, but he completed his dangerous mission successfully. The following day, a buddy pointed out a hole in Private Ritter's blouse. Inside, he found a piece of shrapnel lodged in a blank message book over his heart. Today, he wears a Silver Star for conspicuous gallantry in action.
Enlisting in June 1917, Private Ritter received his baptism of fire at Alsace-Lorraine. From this action, he moved with the Allied forces in the Great Drive around Chateau Thierry, then fought through the offensive from Below Wood to the Vale River. Soon after, he moved with his outfit, the 125th Infantry, as part of a spearhead for the Soissons offense. He was wounded for the second time when 2 machine gun bullets pierced his left arm. He later received the Order of the Purple Heart and now wears 2 wound chevrons.
Following 6 weeks in the hospital, Private Ritter rejoined his division, now dubbed as Terribles by the French for its successful spearheading of the Soissons offensive. Just in time to see action at the beginning of the last great Allied offensive of the war, the Meuse-Argonne Drive.
Soon after the armistice, he marched into Germany with the Army of Occupation, where he remained until April 1918. A month later, back in the U.S., he was mustered out of the Army. 23 years of service with the Detroit, Michigan Fire Department, during which he worked over 5,000 fires. Followed, he re-enlisted September 15th at Detroit, the same city in which he had enlisted 25 years before for a crack at the same enemy.
Private Ritter is the father of 3 sons. 2 are attending the U.S. Navy and Australian waters, and the 3rd is attending military school. Besides the Silver Star and Order of the Purple Heart, Private Ritter holds the Army of Occupation Bar and the 4-star Victory Bar for service and battle on both fronts.
Veterans Day gives us the opportunity to celebrate the dedication and sacrifices of the men and women who have served or are serving in our country. What a better way to end our program than with an American celebration, a collection of patriotic music composed to inspire hope in our future, to celebrate our country, and to honor the people who have made it what it is today. In addition, the slideshow will be shown photographs of our own family members. Please enjoy the finale to our 2025 Summit Hill Junior High Band Veterans Program.